You're listening to Para X.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Merriment, everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron here on the Para X Radio Network. We're going to be talking about magic, manifesting, and miracles tonight with my guest, Diane Silvester. But first, a little bit about Diane. She's a teacher, an empath, a channel, with a wild sense of humor. She's the owner of Soul Centered, a metaphysical shop and event center in the mystic vortex of Ojai, California, for the last 9 years. And Soul Centered hosts a variety of psychics, artists, and metaphysical programming in its geodesic dome. The store offers one of the largest selection of crystals and minerals in Southern California, in addition to a variety of metaphysical tools and supplies. There's also a children's section where she keeps the puppets, the fairies, and the dragons. Diane was a past life regressionist and energy healer in the Los Angeles area and has a working knowledge of many aspects of metaphysics, including astrology and divination, and loves to work lightly with candle magic and manifesting. Welcome, Diane.
Oh, thank you, Marla. I really like that intro because I wrote it and it sounded good.
Yeah,
like,
good.
I like that wild sense of humor. I'm going to have to cultivate that some more. So
I think it'll be obvious as we go along that doesn't need cultivating. It's just you.
I'm honored to be here on your show, Marla. When we met the other day, I was very impressed. You've opened up a new window in my mind about how things are possible. So it was a great conversation.
Yes, it was. I enjoyed it too.
Cool.
Well, let me start with the easy question. Now, you've practiced magic as far back as you can remember, just candles, oils, intentions, that kind of thing. And I think it's the same path that many of us follow because personally, I don't remember exactly why, or maybe the time I didn't realize where it was all leading, but it wasn't something I did just for fun. It was something that came naturally, like playing with dolls. When did you realize what that was all leading to for you?
Well, I can't really say that I have been a consistent practitioner or even that my practice continued. It's like I played at it because I was living this life where I was really trying to do what my parents wanted me to do, which was to be a nice ritualistic Jewish girl and raise my kids that way and do the thing. And so the candles that I was lighting were the Sabbath candles and the Hanukkah candles and singing the songs and doing the prayers and keeping a kosher house and doing all this stuff while secretly pissed off that I was not doing what I was feeling. And going back in time, I actually... my earliest memory of knowing that I wasn't normal
was the common vernacular, yeah.
I was quite young, and I was outside, and I was playing in a vacant lot. And I grew up in Miami, Florida, and so there were these wonderful vacant lots filled with all kinds of bugs and lizards and things of that nature. And I remember just spinning in the weeds in this vacant lot and performing for them, whoever them was, but I just knew they were there, like in kind of like a box. And I was just, I came home and I was so proud of myself because I really understood, and I explained to my parents that they weren't real and that I was the only one that was real. And they explained to me that I was wrong. But I've come to realize, going back to the whole subject of magic, manifesting, and miracles, is that it really is a thought universe. It is a quantum field. And beyond all tools of divination and manifestation, there is the self. And the self is this generator it's an energy ball, basically, that's interacting with the quantum field. The quantum field is everything. There is nothing that's not in the quantum field. And what the quantum field is made up of is quarks, meaning your body, which, by the way, is a whole bunch of cells with their own brain. Just to say my body is actually made up of all these other little tinier beings, really. And then when you get it down to the particles, where you take a part, and they throw it into the quantum accelerator, they smash the particle, and the particle turns into these quarks. Now, the interesting thing about quarks is that they disappear and reappear. Like a computer screen, we think the computer screen is solid, but it's really not solid. It's actually refreshing a whole bunch, a million or whatever, many times a minute, while it looks like a solid thing. So too, quarks do the same thing. They disappear and reappear. The interesting thing is that what the scientist believes is going to actualize. In other words, if the scientists believe that the quark is going to now appear on the left side, it does. And if the scientist believes it's going to appear on the right side, it does. So basically, the scientist is able to interact with his mind, with matter, which is what everybody's been saying. Jesus said it. He said, as a man thinks, so he is. Buddha said it. What we are today is what we thought about yesterday. I remember picking up the book Think and Grow Rich years ago. I was very young, and it struck me that it was true. It's all about us thinking reality into manifestation, and we're all thinking things all the time. I mean, that's where the whole evil eye cursey thing comes in, because it's like, oh, I'm really, and we really can do that. We can also, by repeating all the things that have gone wrong for us, make it happen over and over again, because we're talking about it, we're focusing on it, and thought plus emotion equals manifestation. So how's that for a long answer to a short question? That was the easy question, right?
I'll say yes, but we'll see. Well, people often wonder what their path or purpose is, and you said that it's your job to bring about evolution of consciousness. Now, that's a pretty tall order. How do you go about that?
Well, I have this Messiah complex. No, I just always have had this moxie about me, where I just knew from the time that I was little that I just could never really fit the mold. And I always felt this incredible affection for all life. My mother told a story of when the babysitter slapped an ant on my arm, and I went so hysterical that my mother had to come home from work because she couldn't bring it back to life. I couldn't understand how somebody could kill the ant. Now, I've been guilty of the same, but that was later. The bottom line, I don't kill bugs, but occasionally ants can't be diverted, and there's been some tragic deaths, but I felt very guilty about it. The bottom line is there is a swing back to the feminine these days. It really had to go back. There was the matriarchy, and then it became the patriarchy. And when they talk about the matriarchy, which was when the community was making the decisions, indigenous people, the males and the females are important because the guys can't go off to war without food. And they need to coexist and co-manage the tribe, the males and the females. But what's happened in our society, especially with industrialization and all these other things, women have been locked down a lot. And now 2013 is like the goddess. It is not about, okay, now it's going back to matriarchy. No, it's about balance between the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, because very much so I feel our country has lost connection with anything of value with a woman over, say, 18. Everybody that's over 18 is supposed to look like they're 18 perpetually in order to be acceptable, and all the wisdom of the older woman and all the dignity of growing older without a bunch of plastic and poison being shot into you is lost in this sea of vanity. So it's really important to me to reinstall, if I am able, some values back into our society where women don't feel like they have to walk on impossibly high heels, install sacks of fluid in their chests, inject poison in their faces, and do all of these things in order for anybody to take them in any way seriously.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very true. I mean, especially in certain parts of the country, big places like LA, New York, things like that. Looks come first. And I saw this great picture, this post on Facebook today, and it was a picture of two skeletons, but they had kind of that ethereal form around them, and it was a man and woman hugging. And it said, that's all that matters, not what's on the outside. Look beyond the outside and go into the inside. And I thought it was beautiful. I mean, it had great prose that went along with it, but witchy brain here forgot what they were. But it was just the idea of seeing that a lot of people take people at face value rather than at heart value or emotion value. And I think that's kind of sad, but it's kind of the way we've been programmed, I think.
Right. There is a real focus on, especially if you go back to all the religions, which really aren't that old. The ones that are being practiced, the Western religions, aren't that old, a couple thousand years old. But a lot of it is talking about, well, we're this group, and then those other people are that group. And then there's this separation and that separation. And so separation has always really bothered me because color, religion, whatever it is, language, we are all one. And when you get to the level of cultivation of your psychic gift, which I am such a proponent of assisting people with both energy healing and psychic development, that's what my store was created on a lot of levels for me, to create a safe environment, a clubhouse, if you will, for highly sensitive people who want to develop their gifts, like X-Men, or, it's like we're all freaks, because from the time I was little, I would see people and they would be saying something, and that's not what they were really saying, because I'm such an empath, and it was always like, there's something wrong with me, there's something wrong with me, they're saying it, and I really want to believe it, and it wasn't gelling until I realized that, oh, wait a second, they're speaking the words, but that's not what they mean. And I'm seeing the greater essence, and my psychic sixth sense kept developing and developing and developing. And everybody's got a sixth sense, not just special people with a card. Some people have a natural predilection, but anybody can learn how to do healing, and anybody can learn how to develop their own unique gift, because they're all different. There's not the same gifts. Like, some people are mediums, and some people are not mediums. Some people are empaths, and, some people are natural healers. Some people really aren't that, into that, but they're really into dream work. It's just, there's so many types.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the labels came out a long time ago that somebody that was psychic or somebody that was a medium was just that. And there wasn't anything else but that. And fortunately, we've opened our ears and opened our eyes and realized that there are many layers, just like peeling back an onion. And everybody kind of fits in on one of those layers, or maybe several.
I just think there's been an active desire to stifle the sixth sense. Because if people believe that they actually have their own connection, then they don't have to support whatever group they're in, religiously, organization-wise, pay for the building, that type of thing. I think that there's been an active desire to squish the mystical within all the religions, although the mystical, Sufism is gorgeous, mystical Christianity, Kabbalah, it's there. It's always there, because it's the real connect that we all have. The eye of Horus is actually the pituitary gland with the corpus callosum. It's like the side view of the brain where the psychic center is, and that's the eye of Horus.
I've heard that.
Pardon me?
I said I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like man has always had this connection, male-female. And, when you talked about physical beauty a second ago, one thing that I am so grateful that has developed in me, that, the eyes are the window to the soul. Well, I lay eyes on someone, even a picture, and I just start to get the download. It just comes to me. It's just, I'll meet someone and we'll make eye contact. And then from that eye contact, there's this entire beautiful feed that begins to take place. And I think all humans have this. It's just, it's scary. People making eye contact, people not making eye contact, people being in each other's energy field, what crystals you're wearing. For example, let's say you had Aunt Martha, who was a really grumpy old woman, and she died, and she left you her beautiful sapphire ring, and now you're wearing her sapphire ring, and you begin to notice a change in your personality. That's because the ring has her energy in it. And even though you don't consider yourself psychic, you're picking up this stuff. That's why it's important to cleanse your energy, to cleanse your environment, to keep it clean as much as possible. And even sometimes, feeling other people thinking about you. We're so connected, all of us. Facebook's a wonderful physical manifestation of how we're really all been connected all along in this one big giant field, don't you think?
Yeah, and just like everything, it's got good, it's got bad, but it's very eye-opening. It's a shame that some people use it for building a different character of themselves and who they are, because, well, nobody can see me, nobody knows me for real, I'm going to be this person. But overall, I mean, social media, if not abused, is a really good thing. And we meet a lot of people, we connect with a lot of people, ideas are exchanged. I think it's really, really good overall. You just every so often get, some other stuff on there that's just not.
Oh, yes. And you get to see people's prejudices and you get to see, people, you're in your bathrobe, you can come out, you can just be something. But I also think the whole relevance of Facebook being available to us now at our stage of development in our lifetimes as a connection, that whole philosophy that, oh yes, I'm connected to the little boy in India, sure, on some metaphysical level. But here through Facebook, we actually see we can be connected to the, and he has a Facebook page, he's in Mumbai. But it's just kind of this whole concept of the movement into 2013 and the movement into what was promised after the 2012. And it's like, oh, see, the world didn't end. Well, I don't think the world was ending. I think the old world was ending. I've noticed time has sped up. Have you noticed that? How much faster time is?
I know it's April almost. Oy. Yeah.
Yes.
That's scary. Yeah.
Yes. And a lot more
it was Christmas
in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about turning up the heat so that we as souls that are incarnate in a body are experiencing this major rush of evolution of consciousness as we're at this turnkey time of consciousness. And it's exhausting, certainly. Is it not?
It is, and let me ask you this, because I've had several guests on my show last year that talked about 2013 and the consciousness that is going to be expanding and everything. Now, in your opinion, is it something that will happen completely to everybody, or do people need to be open to it to accept it?
I think that people losing their loved ones in a tsunami and having a sinkhole open up under their house and a million other disasters and weird things that have happened to people open them up whether they want to or not. A lot of people have, had to move. A lot of people have lost their money. A lot of people have had health crisis. It's just one thing after another. It seems to be almost a pounding. And even people who are doing seemingly better, they've already gone through the pounding for like 3 years already or 4 years. It seems like squeezing us through a toothpaste tube. And, is Rush Limbaugh going to get it? Well, the funny thing is I saw some blurb today that he admits that one day, yes, gay marriage will be across this country and we just can't fight it anymore. And it's just sort of like, gosh, I know that's really killing poor Rush, so it's just, we all have our stuff. It's going to drive us crazy and make us think and make us grow up. So do I think people are going to be left behind? I don't know. I think that there's like a grade, where some people are going, a little smoother than others. But I don't know of a person who hasn't been going through something. I really don't. Everyone I know is having something. So it just seems to be even though people are having beneficial things too, it just seems like heaviness around, to grow up. And of course, right now, there was that big Libra full moon with all these other aspects going on. So I think we really are challenged and facing challenges, sort of like stairs. I think stairs are being provided. Some people are going fast up the stairs like a stairmaster, and other people are kind of trudging.
Dragging along, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the title, as we talked about, of the show this week is Magic, Manifesting, and Miracles. And I read a note that you put on Facebook this morning about liking being on the show today because it's the middle of Holy Week with Passover on one end and Easter on the other. So let's talk a little bit about miracles, because I'm sure there are people out there that just kind of go, bah, There's no such thing.
Okie dokie. I love that subject. Awesome. Okay, well, first of all, religion. So Passover is all about the Jews getting away from slavery, right? Slavery could be being chained to your obsessions and your ideas about life, right? And then they wander in the desert. And the reason they wander in the desert is because God says, they wander 40 years in the desert. And it's not because he was a man and refused to ask for directions. It was because they weren't spiritually mature enough to accept what it was like to be free. Like after Lincoln freed the slaves, a lot of them didn't understand what it means to be free. Mm-hmm. So too, Easter is about death and redemption. It goes back to Ostara, the spring equinox, where the egg, the cosmic egg of creation, is represented by the colored Easter eggs. Well, they were not Easter eggs, they were pagan eggs. Or the rabbit, which is fertility and the growth of new life. But growth of new life does not happen instantly. When we plant a seed in the ground, or we decide to create what on your show somebody would call it, say, a magical working, somebody in a business class might call a business plan, or somebody else might call it a vision board. But it's planting a seed, and it's really about the spring planting and planting your seeds for the future and not losing faith. And like the Jews did, building the golden calf, going, I can't see God. I gotta build the golden calf. I gotta buy into a timeshare. I gotta get into a Ponzi scheme. I gotta buy a lotto ticket. It's gotta be, and not that any of these things might not work for someone. I'm just saying it's more an act of desperation. It's like the golden calf, as opposed to, I see what I would like to manifest. I believe I can. I'm doing my personal work where it comes to, is there a part of me that doesn't like rich people? Is there a part of me that's mad at people that have money and that really resent when I see someone in a nice car? You will never have the things that you hate. You will never get those. So you have to do your personal work and say, are there places where I'm mad at the man? Well, then clearly you're never going to be able to manifest within the system. So really it's doing whatever work it takes to just check yourself out. Make sure you're really in alignment with your seed, with your vision. You want to plant that seed. The best miracle grow I've found for a manifestation is gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Gratitude is the water and the sunlight and the everything. Because when we are feeling positive, we're just pushing that stuff along. When we're feeling negative, our chakras are locked down, we're angry, we're at a lower vibration. The higher your vibration, the better it goes. So, was that the answer to that question? I think I did. But basically, I think manifesting holidays.
Mm-hmm. And, manifesting miracles, because we can do that too.
Right. And the thing is, Moses was considered a very great magician. His magic, he was with God, okay? But his magic was greater than Pharaoh's magicians, as per the book. So why was his magic greater? Well, he spent a lot of time by himself, out in the fields with the sheep, being with nature. I really feel that one way to stay really clean for yourself is to get out into nature and connect by yourself beyond other human beings. I think that for me, going to group situations, there's other influences. It's nice to be part of a group, and it's nice to feel part of a group, but it's also really important to take the responsibility that you're born alone and you die alone, and it's your journey. You're on the yellow brick road by yourself. You need a heart, you need brains, you need courage. Stuff's going to happen to you, but ultimately you have the God power. You have it in you all the time. There is nothing that is not God, including you, or whatever you want to call it, God, Goddess, all that is, Great Spirit, all. It's just all. You're part of the all. So it's tapping yourself into that part of the all, the matrix, if you will, and making yourself a heat-seeking missile for what you really do want and not what you don't want. Because most people spend a lot of time talking about what they don't want and all the bad stuff that's happened, including yours truly. I spent a lot of time doing that, noticing that it would manifest again and again. Gosh, why does this always happen again and again? Because you keep talking about it, Diane. Shut up and talk about something you want.
Yes, you are. Call got dropped.
Oh, good.
So we're gonna try and bring her back in right now.
Sure.
And we're back.
Hello, welcome back, Diane. You know, it's kind of funny because you guys were talking about manifesting, and then all of a sudden the phones went all wonky. But get going, guys. I'll take care of this in post production. Love you guys, and get crazy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, actually, Diane, the same thing happened to us when we were talking on Skype the other day, so it shouldn't have been a surprise.
Oh, no. Well, don't know the power of moonstring. Remember Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of partial to Natasha and Boris, though.
Boris, darling.
Yeah, really. So, so we were talking about manifesting and somebody out there heard us and we went away, so we're back now. But let me ask you, you've said that you've studied loads of stuff over the years, like various types of divination, astrology, numerology, energy healing, Kabbalah, a little of this, a little of that, all the modalities. And I think we all do in a sense, or at least should, open up to everything that's available and see what resounds to us, because maybe it's just me, but I think that all learning and growing is vital. And I don't understand why some people don't avail themselves to that.
I think that there's a lot of pressure put on young people to perform, and I think we get scared that we have to be really, really good at something. And I think some people just decide, well, I need to specialize in one thing. Maybe their astrological chart is that they're supposed to be a specialist. Like, there's a lot of astrologers that are better than me. There's a lot of the things I do that are experts. But, God made me a double Gemini. And so, I just can't get enough of learning, which is, I remember, the original food courts. You remember where it was like so cool that you could get Italian food and you could get, deli and you could get pizza and you could get a little of this and a little of that. And it's like, whoa, the food court was so much more interesting than a restaurant because you could get a little and a little. So for me, it's like, oh, well, a little and a little, and then, oh, I really like this, and then you go a little deeper. And I do think that's the benefit of actually walking into a metaphysical store is to allow your senses to guide you to some new adventure and to some new thing, like a museum. Where would you go? Where would you go in a museum? Like to go to the British Museum, which has all these antiquities. Would you go to the Greek? Would you go to the British? Would you go to the German? Would you go to the money section? Would you go to the ancient Icelandic goddesses? They just have so many, the mummies. What are you drawn to? So I think when it comes to self-development, you can't learn enough. You just can't. There's just, it's said it over the Greek temples, know thyself. And it's, who knows themselves? I mean, I'm still going, wow. Every once in a while, it's like Alice in Wonderland, like the hole opens up and I drop. So I didn't see that one coming at all.
And I think that's the hardest thing, is for us to actually open enough and be honest enough with ourselves to get to know ourselves. Because I think a lot of people think that we've got things back there that we really don't want to deal with.
Of course. I was a past life regressionist, and I loved it because it really helped me get away from these tribal exclusion that was making me unhappy, And then when I go back into lifetimes and, oh, now I'm black, now I'm this, now I'm that. Now, it's just like, oh, well, that one makes much more sense because I was also a professional actor. So it's like, oh, I'm playing this role of the me character this time. Well, or in a video game, let's try to figure out what this character's skills are, because everybody, like you, Marla, you've got these amazing writing skills and these amazing communication skills, and you've provided this container for information and sharing and all this kind of stuff, and you've got more books in you and more, and that's what God made. Other people, they're painters, they just really can move you, or musicians, or, accountants, please God, thank God there are people that want to be accountants. But even the accountant even the stockbroker has a gut instinct. The mother that knows there's something up with your kid, just all of it, we have it, and it's just, I think it's a solemn duty to figure out what else am I good at? Where are my things? But, when people do discover, like in past life regression, you've always been a bad guy and a good guy. There's nobody that's ever been all good. You have to experience the range, and even in this life, you have not been perfect. Mm-hmm. But if you've done your best, you can sleep at night. But it's when we realize we really haven't done our best, that we've cheated ourselves, that we've cheated others, that we've lied to ourselves, we've lied to others, we've faked it. We've, really, instead of just being honest and saying, wow, I just cut one. It's so bad around me. You better walk away. We've all done something wrong at some time. And it's just owning our mistakes and owning our humanity.
Mm-hmm. And accepting and forgiving ourselves, yeah.
Forgiving yourself for not being perfect, because remember what they did to the last perfect person? They hung him right up. So you don't want to run in danger of being too perfect. No, seriously. It's like, that Marianne Williamson quote about our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond all measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. You know that one?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let me, do you know the whole one? Should I read
no,
you?
No, not the whole. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why people love, like, Angelina Jolie. She's just so free. And people go, wow, I wish I was that free. She just seems really free, doesn't she, to do whatever she wants on some level in that environment.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We can all be free to do certain things. Your freedom of whatever of will in certain areas may not be mine, but we all have those areas that we can. But I think sometimes we're afraid to break the rules. Like, for example, okay, this is a great segue. The other day when we were talking on the phone, you broke out your Godzilla Tarot deck. Now, when you explained what Godzilla was, or who she was, or he, I was kind of smiling to myself because so many people think it's necessary to go buy the book when they read tarot, meaning a single deck, meaning suggested spreads, dot the I's, cross the T's. And that's from learning that they either read in a book or were taught, but I'm a firm believer in sometimes breaking some of the preset rules and just doing what feels right is the right way to go. So I think, can you explain your Godzilla deck and how you came to build it and how brave you were to break the rule?
Well, you remember the old Odd Couple show? There was Felix and Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to be more of an Oscar than a Felix. So that's kind of like, the metaphysical bent that led me to my great discovery. So basically I would have my decks and I'd leave them around and kind of like, oh man, I'm missing a card. And I started putting all the decks together in this like shoebox, a plastic shoebox that were maybe half decks or quarter decks or maybe a whole deck that's getting a little older. And so when I was teaching tarot, and we would sit around a table and I'd say, okay, we're all going to do a spread. We'll all do a 3-card spread. So everybody go around, pick 3 cards, and then we're all going to do a spread. But it wouldn't be fair if we only had one deck and then the hangman's gone, so only one person got the hangman. So basically, there's the option to have at least 8 or 9 hangmen. So now you do a spread and you get multiple cards in a reading. It's like, wow, there's 3 lovers. Clearly something's being indicated here, obviously. Or certain cards coming up repeatedly. So to me, it's like that chess game, but it's like on 7 levels with like glass shelves, they play on Star Trek. It's kind of, just exponentially brings it out. I noticed that, when I learned tarot from the gal that taught me, she was, very proper, and we had meditations, and it was beautiful. It was very beautiful. We journaled, and, this is the way. You have to have this beautiful velvet thing, and, put them away, and do these ceremonies and crystal here and this and that. And I'm just anarchistic in nature and don't really like rules at all. So I found that it works perfectly well when the rules are broken. So there you go. A double deck is even exciting. It's just fun. So,
well, and the interesting...
the reason it's called Godzilla, I bring it out in class, everybody would go, Godzilla, Godzilla, Godzilla. Anyway, it's funny to...
Yeah, well, put 9 decks together, and you do have a lot of cards, but the interesting thing is, we all know that even with a single deck, when there is a particular card drawn that you need to know about, that they try to keep banging into your head, you're going to get several cards that have the same kind of general meaning. Like, right. People, you're stupid, here, this is what I'm trying to tell you. So with your Godzilla deck, as you said, I mean, if somebody's life is a little teetering, you might get 7 tower cards, and that's really a good warning, rather than one that you might look the other way and say, well, maybe it will, maybe it won't. But you get 2 or 3 or 4 of the same one. This is when you really need to stop and listen.
And there's another layer to it, because I have the Cosmic deck, which has these beautiful, beautiful pictures. I don't know if you know the Cosmic deck. They're all like old actors. And then there's the Witch's Tarot deck, which has a different vibration. And then there's the Rider-Waite deck. And so which Hangman comes out, which Star card comes out, which Queen of Wands, because they all have a different flavor to them. So that adds even another layer to it. I just love variety.
Yeah, and I really think that you get a better reading by that. Much more precise in a way, because there's so many more opportunities for things to come up and repeat or show or, suggest or beat you over the head with.
Right.
No, go ahead.
I said right, the nuances. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and sometimes they're not nuancy.
Right. The other thing I really like to read, it's, I guess because I've always felt drawn to Indigenous and Native American and other cultures, is nature. And I've always felt like druidic. I've always had like Merlin collections. I read my dog Merlin. I think if somebody asked me like, what are you? I'd have to say an alchemist. Because I really do feel that my whole job is to just work on my own self, turning my lead of my personality into the gold of my soul. And so in that alchemical process, I see that nature will talk to you, just like Merlin when he was turning Arthur into various things. And if you study the animal medicine cards or Animal Speak by Ted Andrews, or any of the druidic ones, the decks that have come out, different animals will indicate different things to you. So I'm feeling like I'm constantly in communion with reality. In other words, there's the animals speaking to me, there's numbers, even the number on the parking meter. For example, let's say I've got 11 minutes left. Well, that's the justice card. Let's say I'm meeting a lot of people born on the 16th. Well, that's the tower. Everything is speaking to me all the time. So I'm constantly reading reality. and
Mhm.
believing that I'm being guided and asking to be guided and asking. My prayer a long time ago was, make me an instrument, show me the way, show me what my purpose is, show me the way, show me what I came to do. So this global changeover of the light workers stepping out in the public domain in a hip way, that's kind of my mission. It's getting this field, these discussions into mainstream, because clearly the kids are interested in vampires and zombies. They're clearly interested in the darker side of the metaphysics, but not the self-empowering, let's get it done side. You know, The Secret did a lot to open people's minds to what is. Did you find that to be useful, The Secret?
I did. And that's the whole thing. There are so many doors there that we just need to open, you know, through a variety of methods. And don't be afraid to, because there's not a boogeyman on the other side. There's always going to be something good to learn and grow with if you look at it in that respect. But entering into, you know, people are afraid of change. People are afraid of new things. People are afraid of other ideas from other people because that's not the way they were taught. But all of those are quite binding and kind of counterproductive. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you represent the thing that scares them the most. You call yourself a witch, and that to most people, because I think it's Samantha. You know, it's like, oh, I want to be Samantha. I don't want to be Jeannie. Jeannie's subservient. Samantha's, you know, get married and having sex and having a good time. It's like, you know, Jeannie's just like a wannabe, like, you know, typical male fantasy, you know, with a bare midriff, just doting on him. Whereas, even though, you know, but these images and then there was Charmed, where they're kind of hip, you know, and they're a little bit more, but again, which strikes within the consciousness this ugly hag at Halloween time in our culture, whereas, you know, the witches being associated with Halloween, as you know, I'm sure, is because that's when the veil's the thinnest. That's why the ghosts and everything are around, and the seers were the ones that were honored within the tribe, within the society, within the culture. Even in the Bible, there's Deborah, who is a seeress, and the prophets. You know, who were they but seers? And now it's been demonized as being wrong, whereas so many people are born, growing up, they're seeing the dead, they're intuitive, they realize that what people are telling them isn't real, especially the young kids now. So I think that the whole idea of the witch or the wise person or that type of person being cool again, you know, is really, because you don't see it anywhere. I mean, look at our American culture. Where is it? Where is somebody that's cool? There's a little. There's Long Island Medium. There's John Edwards. There's James Van Prague. But there's not a lot. Not a lot. And they're not really, like, really cool. They're, like, middling cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, we just, honestly, the metaphysical world and everything, we're there, but we haven't crossed over to mainstream yet. I mean, we're still kind of an enigma. We're kind of, don't know what to make of us kind of thing. And I keep hoping.
There's gay marriage now, sweetie, so we're next. We're so next, even in line. We're right behind gay marriage.
So I don't have to worry about the green, you know, covering up the green complexion anymore or doing a spell to hide my warts. I can just come out of the broom closet as I am. Is this our future? This would be great.
You know, I think the point is that people, especially bullies, don't like people who are actually more powerful than they are. And having the sixth sense, here, I'll share with you something that's been like a Zen cone for me. I've heard this expression two different ways. In the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is a king. Or, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is a freak. And I've heard it both ways. And the one eye would be that third eye right in the middle of your forehead. So when there's when there's intuition and you're aligned with source energy, everything is going your way, because you are being guided by I call them your team. We all have angels, guides, whatever you want to call them. All of us have support. But most of us are so lost in this Maya, this illusion of the earth plane, this matrix, if you will, that we get caught up in stories and we lose our connection. And every night we get another opportunity to connect, and we go to sleep and we wake up. Very seldom do we wake up agitated, although it does happen. But, we're given that opportunity to wake up, and then all of a sudden it's like the mind gets in there and goes, no, life sucks. Stop that hopeful bullshit, because you can see that this is really a hard life. And look at all our problems. And let's talk about our problems. Let's call our friends and discuss the problem again. And so then, boom, the energy falls. But if we are on this constant sifting through ourselves and really willing to look in the mirror, really willing to do whatever the work is on ourselves that we are clearly here to do, because I believe it's soul school. That's why I called it soul-centered as opposed to self-centered. Because the self tends to be the illusionary self, the self that was born to mommy and daddy this lifetime, and the self that pretty much will die at the end of the life. But the soul, the real self, the eternal immortal you, goes on and on and on, and it's perfecting and polishing and perfecting and polishing, and polio and AIDS and cheating husbands and kids and drugs or whatever the heck is happening in your life. Okay, that's an experience. That's cool. All right, we can be held up at gunpoint. We can have this experience. We can have all these experiences because we're evolving. On a soul level, it doesn't hurt. On a personality level, we're caught up in this personality. So if we want to make magic happen, we want to change our lives, well, then we have to change our minds. And the mind is a monkey mind, and it really needs to be handled. So how do we handle the mind? Handling the mind best is with affirmations. Prayers are like affirmations, but we can get some great affirmations and say things like every day in every way better and better. Refuse to get into negative discussions about, gee, isn't it terrible, and talk about what's possible. And it's going to feel fake at first, but fake it till you make it is a really great magical affirmation, because it's like the people that have these miracle reverses from cancer. Why did they get it and this other person didn't? Why do cells respond to placebos? Why does illness clear with placebos? Why do multiple personalities have different allergies? What is all that? We don't have a clue who we are. The people that think they know who they are, they're crazy. You never know who you are. But you can look at all these different things, astrology, numerology. You can seek guidance from people who are experienced readers, who are there as I think the best counselors on the planet. I pitched it. There's people that I found that aren't as good as others, but definitely there is a multiplicity of people who have some awesome guidance and that can be extremely helpful. And I adore these people because, invariably their own lives don't work that well, but darn are they good for others, And it's just really about bringing this whole field of people into some prosperity and into some alignment with prosperity, because the wounded healer and the healer without money, is so common. Because the paradigm is, well, I really can't be wealthy. And then the people that are wealthy, unfortunately, some of them have taken a very negative turn and they're not really doing their work, but they shall remain nameless. But there's one really famous one I can think of that is just really out for the money, and it's just not, the information isn't any good anymore because it's just tainted, So I think you can have prosperity and not get tainted, but I think it's a slippery road, because we're constantly being tested in this life. We're constantly polishing and evolving something. If we understand our chart, we can know certain themes that are our themes, and we go, oh, yeah, here's this lesson again. Oh, here it comes. Here's another person doing this, and I've done this before, and oh, man, I fell in the hole again. We start to understand from our numerology, from our astrology, from the cards of destiny, from these different systems of understanding yourself, who am I? But just like the caterpillar asked Alice in Wonderland, who are you? It's the ultimate question. We'll continue to ask ourselves till we leave, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm going to leave like the Cheshire Cat with a real snarky smile. We are almost out of time, so can you quickly tell us a little bit about where people can find out more information about you, about Soul Centered, all that good stuff?
Cool. Okay, well, we're working on our website right now. Right now, it's not an awesome website, but we have a lot of crystals, like a huge crystal collection that we've been pulling together so that we have like a nice selection for practitioners to use crystals. And we are at Soul Centered, like self-centered, SOULCENTERED.com. We'll be offering webinars in the future and little blogs and different things. We've got some awesome plans. So we're in Ojai in a physical building with a geodesic dome in the back. So if you're ever by Santa Barbara, LA area, we're in that region and offer classes at very low cost. In fact, on Saturday I'll be initiating Healing Hands, which is donation only for that one because I do that once a month. So as many people as possible can be working this energy path that I've got and use it in their own life with their animals or with themselves or possibly consider going into the healing field, because there's just, everybody can do it. I haven't had one person that hasn't been able to learn. So I'm very happy about that. We have a Help Yourself Tarot and Divination station if people do make it up and a bunch of crystals. So that's me,
It's all there.
Over at Soul Centered, yeah.
Great. Well, I'm going to have to wrap up now, but you are coming back. Just so you said, I've gotten a couple of requests in private chat to have you back on, so we will, and we'll talk about it. Stay on the line, Diane, and we'll thank you properly when we get off. But thank you, and thank everybody for joining me tonight. And as always...
I just have one little laugh, even all the people that say, this is my last life, I'm not coming back. Okay, let's get go.
And on that happy note, until next time, everybody, blessed be and merry meet again. Good night.
This has been another edition of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Be sure to tune in next week at the same time for another great guest and more fun. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2009.
You have been listening to the Para X Radio Network.